A reporter stands outside the Kavanaugh home, recalling events from the previous year that shook the quiet community of Orange County, Virginia. Hank Kavanaugh, a well-known figure in the town, passed away suddenly at his home on a hill. After his mysterious death, people began to suspect his younger wife, who became known as the widow on the hill. The reporter shares that Hank's widow, Linda, only agreed to speak if her lawyer was present and that she wouldn't discuss the charges she would soon face in court. During the interview, Linda suggests that she isn't afraid to talk to the reporter because she wants everyone to know she's not a murderer. 5 years earlier, Linda's third marriage was already falling apart. She and her husband couldn't stand each other anymore. They stopped at a gas station where he filled up his motorcycle and she went to the store. But minutes later, she saw her husband driving off, leaving her stranded in an unfamiliar place. While walking along a country road, Linda spotted a house on a hill and thought it must be wonderful to live in such a place. Years later, Linda settled into a trailer home and worked her way through nursing school. When she heard that the people in the Hilltop house needed a hospice nurse, she applied right away. Linda soon arrived at the Kavanaugh home, where Hank explained they needed a nurse for his dying wife. Linda met Hank's daughter, Jenny, and promised to care for her mother. In the bedroom, Hank's wife, Felicia, joked with Linda, asking if she was the angel of death. Linda replied that if Felicia continued to feel pain, the doctor could increase her morphine dose. Linda told her patient that it was lucky to have such a beautiful view from her bed, but Felicia disagreed, saying that dying at 45 didn't feel lucky to her. Felicia tells the nurse that her death will be difficult, so the nurse gently places her hand on Felicia's arm to offer comfort. In the living room, Linda informs Hank that Felicia's pain is under control, but suggests he call her if it worsens. She gives Hank a pamphlet about what to expect in the coming weeks, and he asks if Linda believes that's all the time Felicia has left. The nurse explains that no one can be sure, but she believes Felicia will need Hank's support during this tough time. As Linda is about to leave, she notices a photo on the wall and asks if it's of his other daughter. Hank tells her that Monica is married, while Jenny has moved back in after taking a break from college. Linda reminds Hank that her job is also to support him through this difficult experience, and she gives him a kiss on the cheek. The next day, Hank's friends Rick and Kevin walk into the general store, where Jenny is working at the counter. They sit with Ransom, Jenny's godfather, at a table. When Hank arrives with Linda, he introduces her to his friends, explaining that she's caring for his wife. Jenny watches them closely, unsure how to feel about the growing closeness between her father and the nurse. As Linda goes to get their sandwiches, Kevin asks Hank if all nurses are as beautiful as Linda. Hank quickly replies that she's a kind woman and doesn't deserve to be treated disrespectfully. A few days later, Rick asks Jenny how her mother is doing. Jenny quietly says she expects the worst any day. She then jokes that she would have run away with him if he'd asked, hinting at the social divide between them. Rick mentions that Hank told him Jenny had quit drinking, and Jenny responds that she's trying. He encourages her to keep going. When Jenny asks Rick what he thinks about the nurse, Rick says that if it were up to him, he'd ask the hospice to send someone else, showing that he's also uncomfortable with Linda. Later, Linda gives Felicia her scheduled dose of morphine and steps outside to give the mother and daughter some private time. Felicia asks Jenny to bring her jewelry box and tells her she wants her to have the sapphire ring that belonged to her great-grandmother. Jenny begins to cry, and Felicia tells her to stay strong and take care of her father after she's gone. As Jenny comes down the stairs, she sees Linda gently touching Hank's face. Upset, Jenny storms into the kitchen and accuses Linda of getting too close to her father. Linda tries to explain that it wasn't what it seemed and offers to have a different nurse sent if the family wants. Hank reassures them, saying it was just a misunderstanding. The next day, Jenny greets her sister Monica, who has returned home, and the family spends the morning together on the porch. Later, while Hank and Jenny are out riding horses, Monica arrives with the sad news that Felicia has passed away. At the funeral, Ransom gives a speech, reassuring Hank that the community will support him and his family. Afterward, Ransom asks Jenny how she's holding up. Jenny admits she knows people expect her to turn to drinking after her mother's death, but she promises she won't. She then tells Ransom she doesn't like Linda when she sees the nurse talking to Hank. Linda later tells Jenny that her mother loved her very much, but Jenny replies that she already knows that and walks away. One day, Linda visits Hank, who tells her that he quit drinking the day before Monica's wedding because he promised he wouldn't be drunk when walking his daughter down the aisle. He says singing in the church choir helps him stay strong, and Linda expresses interest in hearing him sing. When Hank invites her to join him at church on Sunday, Linda suggests that Jenny might not like her being there. Hank assures her that Jenny doesn't attend church and asks Linda not to leave. They share a kiss, and Linda says she'll see him on Sunday. At the church service, Hank smiles when he sees Linda sitting in the pews. Later, the couple arrives at Ransom's house for a party. When Linda compliments Felicia's coat, Hank tells her to keep it. Suddenly, the door opens, and Ransom introduces Linda to his wife, Lois. At the party, other guests whisper and watch the new couple. After leaving early, Hank and Linda head to the nurse's trailer home. The next day, Hank returns home to find Jenny packing her things into her car. He asks what she's doing, and she angrily responds that she's moving to an apartment in town because she doesn't approve of his new relationship. She says she doesn't want to picture her father being with another woman while he's still supposed to be grieving his late wife. Later, Hank tells his daughters that he asked the nurse to marry him. Monica congratulates him, but Jenny leaves the room upset. A few days later, Monica tells Jenny to let go of her anger and accept that their father has the right to live his life how he chooses. She adds that she's not worried about Hank or Linda, but she's concerned about how Jenny is handling everything. Meanwhile, Linda tells Hank that she wants to go to Italy for their honeymoon. She says she wants to travel the world so she can have interesting things to talk about with his wealthy friends. Hank then asks if she's agreed to a prenuptial agreement. Linda asks if he asked Felicia to sign one, and when Hank says no, Linda wonders if it's because his late wife came from money while she did not. Hank admits that Jenny suggested the prenup, and Linda suspects it was Jenny's idea. Hank says they need to be careful, but Linda tells him that if he wants to love cautiously, he should find someone else. Finally, Hank agrees to skip the prenup if it makes her happy. At the wedding, Rick encourages Jenny to congratulate the couple, saying it would mean a lot to their father. Jenny approaches Linda, who promises to take care of Hank because she knows how much his children love him. Jenny is shocked to see the star sapphire ring on Linda's finger, the same one her mother had. She demands that Linda hand it over, causing a tense moment until Monica and Rick step in to calm things down. Weeks later, at the annual show-jumping event that Felicia used to host, Linda hopes the event will show the local elites that she can manage on her own. When Hank arrives in his work clothes, Linda tells him to change because people will compare her hosting skills to Felicia's. However, Hank refuses to follow her orders. Linda says that if he changes his clothes, she'll make it worth his while later. After he leaves, Linda notices Kevin staring at her and tells him to place the change and arrange the chairs by the tables. On Linda's birthday, Jenny notices that she's still wearing her late mother's ring. The celebrant thanks the family for welcoming her into their home and reassures them that she's not trying to replace Felicia. Jenny interrupts by asking Monica about her new house, making the situation more awkward. One day, Jenny sees Linda and Kevin in the barn. Kevin quickly leaves to return to his work on the farm. Jenny threatens to tell her father, but Linda tells her it won't matter. She claims Hank won't believe his daughter, who has struggled with alcohol and seems to care about no one but herself. Linda points out that Hank spends a lot of time worrying about Jenny and is surprised he hasn't had health problems because of it. Jenny, however, believes Linda is after her father's wealth and property. Linda reassures her that she already has it. On Sunday, the town sees Linda and Kevin arrive at church together, and people begin to gossip, assuming they are involved. At the store, Ransom tells Rick that the town thinks Linda is cheating on Hank. Although it pains them to see their friend treated this way, they don't know how to break the news to him. One afternoon, Rick finds Linda and Kevin together in the horse stables. He orders Kevin to leave, but Linda isn't bothered when Rick threatens to tell Hank. She casually adjusts her blouse, making Rick question why she isn't satisfied with Hank, who is a good man. Linda admits that she enjoys pursuing things she shouldn't have. She then kisses Rick, and although he initially pulls away, he eventually gives in. That night, Rick calls Jenny, asking her to tell Hank that the whole town knows about Linda and Kevin. The next day, Jenny tries to convince Hank, but he dismisses it as gossip and accuses Jenny of being jealous of Linda. During an interview, Linda denies the affair, calling it gossip from Hank's daughter. A year earlier, Hank noticed Linda and Kevin talking and laughing together, which made him wonder if Jenny's accusations were true. One evening, Kevin drops Linda off, where Hank is waiting. He asks who gave her a ride and hints he knows about the rumors. Inside, Linda doesn't deny the affair, saying she goes after what she wants. She assumes Jenny told Hank, but Hank agrees with his daughter's view of Linda. Linda responds that she wasn't seen as bad when she cared for Felicia. Hank angrily tells Linda not to speak about his late wife, demands a divorce, and orders her to leave town. He also removes her from his will. At the store, Hank confronts Kevin, threatening him if he touches his wife again. Hank suddenly collapses, and Jenny rushes to help. The nurse checks his vital signs and says he's fine, but Jenny insists he needs a doctor. Hank believes his dizziness is from new medication. Later, Kevin tells Rick he knows something happened between him and Linda. Rick threatens Kevin to keep quiet, and then Hank invites them to dinner. At home, Linda begs Hank to forgive her, but he says staying with her would cost him his dignity. During dinner, Linda makes a detour to the pantry before going upstairs. After hearing a thud, they find Hank collapsed. Rick tells Linda to do CPR while he calls for help. When paramedics arrive, Linda insists Hank is dead, but they continue trying to revive him. After confirming Hank's death, Jenny sobs over his body. Rick notices Linda acting unusually calm after finding Hank's will and wonders why she's not more upset. At the wake, Linda says Hank had always predicted his death from overwork and asks the family about the funeral. She says Hank wanted to be cremated, so she made the arrangements. Jenny argues that Hank never said this, but Linda insists she's just honoring his wishes. Jenny suspects that Linda may have killed Hank and is trying to destroy evidence by cremating his body. She also believes Linda could have been involved in their mother's death. Though Ransom and Monica dismiss her concerns, Jenny is determined to find the truth. The Commonwealth attorney tells Jenny she needs proof for an autopsy, and Rick later supports her theory, mentioning Linda's strange actions the night Hank died. Jenny asks Rick to provide a statement, and the next day, the police stop the cremation. At the funeral, the sisters find morphine packages in the pantry, and Linda orders them out. Jenny confronts Linda, revealing the autopsy showed Hank died from a morphine overdose, and the morphine was stolen from the hospice. Linda denies it, but the police arrest her after Kevin testifies against her. In the present, Linda defends herself in an interview, claiming Jenny is manipulative. She says she's confident the trial will prove her innocence. Meanwhile, Jenny watches from her apartment and smirks. Linda is acquitted but now faces a lawsuit from Hank's daughters.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay connected with us.